Now, Mr. Tucker, obviously some questions, and also joining us, forgive me, is co-owner of South Arkansas now. Earl Grant, how are you?
Doing well tonight. Just interested in seeing the different ramifications of what we're talking about here.
Mr. Tucker, some people have called the calendar called it year-round school. Is that actually accurate?
Well, no, because there's actually not a year-round school. And so there's 4 different options you can take according to the state whenever you're looking at calendars. It is called a year-round calendar. Of course, students are not going to school year-round, and I'll explain that in just a second. So this offers a year-round calendar, an alternative calendar, and I'll explain that one in a second, traditional calendar, and a 4-day-a-week calendar. Every school in the state, public in the state, has to attend school 360 minutes a day.
Okay.
And so an alternative calendar counts minutes. Junction City School District uses an alternative. And so a typical school day for a traditional calendar is 178 days. And you have to have at least 60 minutes those days for instruction. We average about 410 minutes a day. And so in most school districts go to school longer than 360 minutes. Junction City is one of those schools, of course, almost everybody does. And so on an alternative calendar, you can count minutes. And so I think Junction School a lot less than 178 days, because to get in, the 1,062 hours that you have to go to school, it will take them less days. And if that's the route we decided to go, it will take us less than 100 days as well. Now, so then you also have. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, didn't you and the board have to approach the state last year because of a weather event and change to a minute calendar towards the end of the year to be able to get your time in?
That is correct. Yeah. Now, the State Department allowed every school district in the state to do that.
Okay.
If you were able to get your minutes in, then they allowed you to do it. And actually, we were still over our minutes, even just counting minutes.
Okay.
So you had the alternative calendar, which counts minutes. You have a traditional calendar, which is 178 days. You have a 4-day-a-week. As long as you're getting your minutes in on average, you can go 4 days a week. Strong does that. And then you have calendar, and that name is not, obviously it's not accurate, because you're not going to school year round. You're still going to school 178 days, just like you always have been. There's no difference in the number of school days you go. You just start school a little bit sooner. And so students with this calendar still would not go to school in June and July, as it is now with the traditional calendar. They do go to school 2.5, 3 weeks, a lot of times in August. That was a bit sooner. Teachers would start a little bit sooner. But those 3 weeks that you're not going in the summer are spread out throughout the school year. And a lot of research on that. This is not new at all. Whenever I was in Texas about 20 years ago, the school district I was at had a similar calendar to the one that we're proposing. They've been doing it for a long time. And there are a number of schools in the state that are doing it as well, doing it this year. Hampton, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, there's a number of them. But there's a number of reasons to consider a calendar like this. Learning loss is a real, there's a lot of research that goes behind every week that you can cut off the summer for students. They end up losing less learning throughout the summertime. And so that is a very important factor. Another thing that's kind of beneficial about this is that it's shown too that absenteeism among students and staff is less whenever you're looking at 3 weeks out school year instead of having them in the summertime. Magnolia School District has seen that this year, and Hot Springs School District seen that this year. So, there's a number of reasons, and those are some of them as well.
Talk to me for just a moment. One of the things that this alternative calendar touts is the ability to for teacher retention and less burnout.
Yes, and that is accurate, and that plays into the absenteeism as well. And so, if you can take those 3 weeks and we'd be losing and spread them out throughout the school year, it gives students a few more breaks and it gives a few more breaks. And research has shown that a week, there's not a lot of learning loss there, if any. It has shown too, though, that you start getting above a week and a half, 2 weeks, there is some learning loss. And so even with the Christmas break that we're looking at now, we always back, and it takes a good 3 or 4 days to get back into the groove of things and get people get review done and get people refreshed. There's been research that shows a week doesn't do that, and even from experience, we see that. We come back from spring break, Thanksgiving break, any learning loss, students are able to get right back on track. You don't have to motivate them a whole lot. They come back more refreshed. And districts that are doing that this year throughout the state are seeing the same thing.
Mr. Tucker, one of the concerns that we've heard, and just when we're talking to people in the community and the messages we've received via our website, and one of the concerns we've heard about is during these more frequent breaks, will there actually be dead weeks? In other words, one of the concerns was, there may be some coaches and our extracurricular coaches who say, well, I can't be here and I can't tell you to be here, but for the people who want to play for me, they're going to voluntarily be here because the school's going to be open for that. Are there dead weeks where that's not an option?
No, so the only dead weeks we'll have will be the same ones that are throughout the state. That's July and the week after. So I coached for a pretty good while, and I think every coach will tell you this: coach year round. There are football games typically going on during Thanksgiving break. There are basketball games going on during Thanksgiving break. There are basketball games going on during Christmas break. There are tournaments going on during Christmas break. We had wrestling going on during Christmas break. You have baseball, softball, track going on during spring break. And so coaching is year round. And even during those breaks, when you're not playing, you're still practicing. Even the players. And so the weeks that we have are the ones that AAA has designated, and those are the ones in July.
But those will still be in effect.
Oh, yes, sir. That is correct.
What does it do food service management wise to have, more frequent breaks?
Well, I think nothing. There's no effect there, because what we have to remember is that we're still going 78 days. Either the 3 weeks are a break in the summer or the 3 weeks are breaks throughout the school year. And so either way, the break is there. Either it's in the summer or it's during the school year. In regards to food service, there's no real effect there.
Probably actually a better effect, because you're not having to clear out a freezer right at the end of a school year, right?
Yeah, and I will say this too. Our food director, Kim Newman, does an outstanding job.
She does. Whenever she
purchases food and when she's looking at menus, and she is able to work it very well, moving up, trying to answers, and having food in her for a week is not a big deal anyway. And so, yes, you're accurate, and I have full faith and trust that if the board chooses to go this route, that Kim will have that under control.
Grant, as you've been listening here, what questions would you have for Mr. Tucker?
Mr. Tucker, one question I had was, this, we got a lot of kids that schools, their only opportunity to get a good meal sometimes is just kind of enable the school district to make sure that kids are a little more consistently fed over the summer times when they might be missing some meals?
So in regards to meals, and that is a great question, we have some programs at each school, and we have a food pantry, and there we breaks, even on weekends, and food home with students. And so we know who those students are, and if we don't, a lot of times they'll make us aware of who they are, and we'll send food home, something that we would continue to do.
Another question I had is, like, right now during snow days, for example, we get a time when we've got, a week out or maybe more because of snow and ice, and we have those prolonged periods of time. How are those days made up, and does that shorten the amount of time, I guess, that people can plan for vacations and things like that?
Okay, so I've been in a district 19 years. I think there's only been one time where I've seen us out a week, for snow. So I don't foresee that happening very often. One thing that we could do, there's a lot of options here. And from what we saw last year, whenever you're out that long, the state will typically make provisions, for something like that. And if we were able to count minutes again, we'd be covered. I mean, we wouldn't have to make anything up because we have more than enough minutes throughout our school year to accommodate. We could go from each one of those weeks. That would be 3 days there. We could add a day to the end of the year if we had to, and actually you can add time to each school day to make up those days. And so there are a number of options that we can do, and a lot of times the state, whenever it's a prolonged amount of snow or prolonged amount of ice or something like that in the state, they make provisions as well.
Mr. Tucker, one of the questions that gets asked, and it came our Facebook feed, and it said, how did the students, the parents, faculty, how did they respond to the poll that was put out earlier this year? Actually, late last year.
Certainly, yes, another great question. So the Facebook poll survey, really just to give your opinion as well, it was about 60-40 in favor of the year-round calendar, alternative calendar. And the district poll that was sent out to staff was 76% in favor of.
Wow.
And which is pretty typical from what we've seen of school districts. Actually, other school districts have been about 60-40 with staff as well. Ours was 70%, and we had almost a record turnout for the staff that voted. And so it's I feel real confident the teachers would be able to get behind this, and the staff as well.
Mr. Tucker, I know that at times that some districts pay teachers in certain ways. Some teachers are on like a 9-month contract, for example. Some get paid year round. Does this change to the calendar affect basically how you pay your educators? And are there other financial issues that might be eased because of the change to this certain calendar?
Yeah, no, it would not change how we pay anybody. And I'll use myself or even our principals as an example. We're on year-round calendars, and of course, those weeks where we would be out, we would all be working. There's plenty of work to do when staff is not in a building. There's so much paperwork, that is probably would be nice to have some of that time to do work. One thing and if we wanted to be off those weeks, we would have to take vacation. And whenever I was talking to the superintendent at Magnolia and Hot Springs, they saw a decrease in absenteeism with staff and students, which is a great thing. I mean, having teachers there, more consistent, and having students there consistently is always a nice thing. One thing that did that uptick in is vacation days being used, which makes sense. If one of those weeks you're out and you have a principal or somebody that wants to enjoy a couple of those during that week, then they'll take vacation time. And so I would foresee that happening as well. So I think there's opportunities there for staff that are on extended calendars, like a year-round calendar.
Mr. Tucker, real quick, just a little housekeeping here. We do want to thank our sponsors, because obviously all these things have to have sponsors. And so thanks to ProMed Ambulance, Union Square Guest Quarters, and for all participating and helping sponsor this tonight, just so we can get this information out to the community. So the board meets tomorrow at 6, and you anticipate they'll vote then as approve this calendar or go back to the traditional calendar?
That would be my suggestion, that they will take a vote. That's my hope, at least. I'll make a recommendation, and they'll do what they feel is, and I have full confidence in them. I trust our board. They listen to the community. They listen to staff. They vote from their heart, and whatever decision they make, I'll be fine with. And so I am good.
Fantastic. Grant, do you have any other questions for Mr. Tucker?
No, I think we've covered most of it. I just appreciate our school board and our all of our administration for always trying to make sure everything flows very efficiently. And good luck in all of your discussions and voting tomorrow night, Mr. Tucker.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I appreciate y'all having me on. This is a great forum. I've enjoyed Facebook and South Arkansas Now, and reading and getting caught up on the news and even your website. I think it's a good thing you're doing, and I appreciate it. And if there's anything you ever want to visit with me about, I'm open. I'll tell you as much as I can and as much as I know.
We had another question come in, and I had missed it when it came through. What is the collaboration looking like, or what is the district doing about daycares and child care?
Mm-hmm. So I visited with nearly all child daycare facilities in El Dorado. I went to them face to face and visited and kind of shared this calendar with them. Half of them told me that they provide drop-in service. And if this calendar is approved, we'll put a list of those out there. And so I think that's a great opportunity for childcare. We will offer during that week, if this calendar is approved and we go with it, there will be a week off in September, and we'll provide child care for students in grades K through 6. And that will be at a fee. It won't be a large fee. We'll offer scholarships, if students can afford, and we'll do that at our school. We'll have it separated K through 4 and or K through 3 and 4 through 6. Now, I will say this: Hot Springs School District did that this year. They provided child care, put out a parent survey. It was a E-type deal. They funded this, and they provided it for the community. On the first day, they had a lot less than had RSVP'd. On the second day, they had less. Third day, they had less. Fourth day, they had less. And the fifth day, they had less. And at that time, when I visited with the superintendent there, they were considering not offering it the second break because it just was not utilized during that first break. We will do something very similar. We'll offer childcare that first week. If it's utilized, we'll offer it that second break. If it's utilized, we'll offer it the third break. And I want parents to have an opportunity to have a place to send their child if they need it.
Some of the other questions that have come in, Mr. Tucker, how does this affect professional development requirements for teachers and administrators within the district?
It doesn't change the requirements at all in regards to professional development. That is a state law.
Okay. And then next question was, what has the administration of the Boys and Girls Club said regarding how they would accommodate the schedule?
I'm sure David Lee is still looking at that, and I have confidence in him that he'll take the appropriate action for him. I appreciate the Boys and Girls Club. They do an outstanding job. They're a great partner of ours, and I think they'll do well.
And then the next question was, where can someone find an example of the proposed calendar?
Okay, well, we put it out on Facebook through a survey. I'm sure that is still there, which would be on our website and our Facebook page. And so I would check those two places. And if you can't find it, just call the office tomorrow and I can get it to you.
I did go earlier today and clicked the link for the calendar, and it said it was no longer available. So they can call your office,
okay.
drop by the office tomorrow. I'm sure they could get a copy of it there as well, right?
Yeah, and we can get that reactivated.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I can't, David. That I don't think that. So I'm having someone who's messaging me saying, "Ask my question." I can't, because I don't think that's going to be a school district issue. Anyway, Tucker, we know that your commitments today, as do we. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate the willingness to be out here and be transparent, and to just put yourself out to the community and say, "Here's what we're wanting to do." We appreciate the board for kind of prodding us with this idea, and we'll move forward. Looking forward to that vote tomorrow night. Of course, we're going to be there. We'll cover that event, and we'll have a story after that. And again, thanks to our sponsors, which is Union Square Guest Quarters, ProMed Ambulance, and Van Hook Tire, all of them sponsoring this interview. And hopefully we get to do this more often, Mr. Tucker. We'll have things coming up throughout the year that we can get you on to you about.
Yes, sign me up. I'll be there.
Sounds good. For Girl, I'm Sandy Sanford. He's Jim Tucker. Thank you so much, and bless and good night.